pre-season. How will this one differ from last year's pre-season?
Oh, it shouldn't. They're all pretty hard. They all take a lot of time and effort and a lot of hard work from the players. So there shouldn't be too much of a difference at this time of the year. The boys will come in, and they did. They come in pretty good shape, the young fellas this morning, and run some really impressive times. So that's a really good sign for us. But we know our pre-season is going to be tougher and harder than it was last year.
So Corns will go out as never having been beaten in that run.
Are you retiring him?
He's not playing next year, and he won again this morning.
He's not playing next year.
Sorry, the year after.
Why not?
You reckon he might play another year?
He's been in very good form, so I wouldn't think Kane would like me to say that was his last run in the 3K time trial. I think he's expecting to run a lot more often.
Young and Cleary did pretty well to come fourth. He's obviously got good aerobic capacity.
Yeah, Cleary's a really good runner. I mean, he ran 10.02 this morning, which is an impressive time for a second-year player, and he's a 1.92 player, so he's a big, strong boy. But running's a real strength of his.
What did you have to say to Jared after that run?
Oh no, I just welcomed him to the club and said that that you can understand. He's coming from a way back. He has been crook. He's actually had tonsillitis for the last week, so we knew he was going to be a little bit down this morning. But just to make sure he understands that there's a level you have to get to early, and he knows that. Look, we're not going to put any extra pressure on him other than make sure that we give him the best chance to improve.
So was he excused today, given his illness?
No, not excuse. No, I don't think excuse is the word, but we understand he was a little bit down on his running time that he would like to be. I'm sure that will get better. We're lucky. He's working with Darren Burgess. We expect him to improve quite quickly.
So were you disappointed with his performance today, or?
No, he didn't. As I said, he'd been crook. So what we got out of him this morning, we weren't actually sure he was going to be able to run this morning, only as late as Friday. So I'm pleased that he got out there and was able to run.
He's a big recruit for you guys, but what are your expectations on him?
Oh, look, he's a young player. He hasn't had much continuity at all in his training and his playing and his game. So there's a lot. I don't want to put too much expectation on him other than say we brought him to the club with the idea that he would improve our list, and we know that will be the case. We've got to now give him those, the grounding to allow him to do that. Hopefully he gets a little bit of continuity of training and he has a really strong pre-season, because I know from history that you've got to have a great pre-season if you're going to have a good season, and that's exactly what he needs first.
Clearly he's got a lot of upside, hasn't he? He was a high draft pick who, for one reason or another, mainly injury, hasn't reached those levels yet, but he's got a big upside.
Yeah, that's why we got him. I mean, he was pick 5 in the draft. He was a player that we were really keen to get, and we think he adds to our group, and he'll improve us as a football club. So, but again, as you said, he's got some massive upside, but we've still got to get that out of him.
There's supposed to be some of the more inexperienced players out there today. What sort of an example does it set when Kane comes out and blitzes the field like he did again?
It's just great for my football club, I reckon, that that one of our leaders is leading the way. And then Kane had a chat to the boys after the run, and asked them some pretty honest questions. Who's improved their time? Who's done better than last year's time? And if you're not preparing, he told them about how we prepared for that run, which was a really good story when you sit there listening to it. But it just says that we're in good hands with our senior boys. With Kane and Dom and those sort of blokes around the footy club. We know we're in good hands, but Kane wants to be successful, so he doesn't want to wait for those young boys to achieve what he wants to give them some understanding of what it takes, and that's going to make them get there quicker.
Was that an off-the-cuff sort of an address at the end there?
Absolutely. I didn't know nothing about it, and I was standing there like you were, listening and watching, and I was really pleased with what he said.
You've made a commitment to Gray, I understand, to be a rookie. Is that right, Sam Gray?
No, we can't. Unfortunately, you can't make any of those commitments, but there's things that we want to do, and Sam's in a mix of players that we're looking at now. Whether we end up being able to pick a Sam Gray or someone else, we can't go out and say, yeah, we're going to pick this player or that player. We're actually going to go to the draft. I go back to work this afternoon. There's a list of 45 players that we're going to look at to fill 4 spots. So who's going to be there, who's not going to be there? Sam's one of those players that we fit into that group, and that's all I can say at this stage. We're hopeful that at some stage they fall our way, we'll get the players we want.
What do you like about Fraser Dale?
Oh, look! The key thing about Fraser is actually Richo had a bit of a connection with Fraser, so it seems a bit funny now that Richo's at St Kilda, but Richo had a connection with him at Carlton, and thinks he's got some real upside. Again, he's a good size. You've seen he's got a good height, and he plays some reasonable football in the VFL and had a couple of games in AFL. We think that there's something there, but we're not sure again. We're just having basically an initial look at him.
And in terms of, you mentioned Richo, have you got any closer with replacing him?
No, I was with him on Saturday, so we were actually going through some stuff at work and making sure we had all that under control. So it's been a really quick turnaround, and yeah, we know it's going to take a little bit of time to replace him. But we're onto it. We're walking around and we're searching through the AFL and even outside the AFL, see what the other options are and what we can actually bring into our football club. Again, you're not going to replace Allen for Allen. We're going to replace something different and hopefully strengthen our football department.
You say outside the AFL, what other sports?
Oh, no, there's just other people. There might be people who are actually working exactly in the AFL right now and currently at clubs. There's plenty of options. We'll advertise the job. You just never know sometimes who actually puts their hand up for these sorts of jobs, and that's what we've got to be prepared to be, look outside and make sure we don't miss anyone that might be there.
Keith said that the replacement would be a slightly different position. How comfortable are you this time compared to last year? Like in the scene, you know.
Well, I suppose from this time to last year, I didn't know Richo. I hadn't worked with Richo, so I didn't know what the relationship was going to be like. So I suppose we were both a little nervous about how this was all going to work out. But as it turns out now, with having 12 months and we've got things, in a bit better shape, that we can actually now continue to focus in on what I do. And I mean, I'm the football coach. The Richo role perhaps can be a little bit more the director of coaching, as it says it is. It's to help our coaches become better coaches. So perhaps don't need tactically as much as Alan would have brought, no doubt about that, because we've got Phil come back to the club too, so that helps us there. So I think there's a slightly different change to what we might look for.
But are you feeling a bit more comfortable in your role, 12 months down the track, having your own team?
Not really. No, not really. I mean, this game's about expectation. It's about what you should and shouldn't do, and last year there was almost no expectation. Well, this year that's slightly different, and I look forward to that.
How big a loss is Richo?
Oh, look, he's a fantastic person, a great football person. You don't, you don't lose people like that and say that there's not a loss. There clearly is a loss to us and a slight disruption to our program, but we will also move on and find the next person to help us get better in that area. So there's a little bit of Richo that we're going to miss, and the players will know that too. They had great relationships with Richo, but again, all of them, like me, are just so proud for him that he's had that opportunity to get the job.
And you had no qualms about him leaving. I guess you were in a similar boat last year yourself.
Yeah, no, I didn't. No, if I say this, I'll probably get in trouble, but I encouraged him probably as much as I probably should, and if I did, I thought that if he had a goal to coach AFL football, I know how hard they are to get. I shouldn't have been the one standing in his way.
Ken, the draft this year, obviously you're coming from a worse position, finishing high on the ladder. In the past few years you've had top 10 picks, you're picking 21 this year, so it's your worst in 6 years. How much more difficult does that make it to draft players you really want?
Don't know, we've got to get Parks. Jeff Parker's got to get to work and make sure he gets it right. And 21 in this year's draft, everyone's saying that it's between 10 and 25. The group's quite close, so we made a conscious decision to get Jared in. So we knew we were going to drop out a few places in the pick, but we're reasonably confident that one of the players that we've got a real keen focus on will be there at 21. So I think we'll be okay. But yes, you're right. The good clubs make the most of the 21 picks. The 1 to 5 or the 1 to 10. They're almost pretty simple picks now. Shouldn't say like that, but they are. They're so well known. Everyone knows all about them. It's that next bunch. If Parks is doing his job with Cripper, they'll get that right.
Are you looking at a forward at some stage in the draft?
Well, it depends again. It all comes back to what's in our lot of players. There's not many in the tall forwards in the draft. What's available, how high you have to pick them. So there's lots of things you have to consider. If one come at the right time for us, and he's around our pick, yes, we'd look at that, but we're not absolutely desperate to go that way just yet, because we do have Schultz and Westhoff and Mason Shaw that we think and Butcher and even Jackson Trengo. So we've actually got quite a bit of height. We've got Homsh into the club, so there's a bit of height in our club. We just know that Schultz in 2 or 3 years' time might be coming to them. That's when but then we've got Mason Shaw. So hopefully we're okay, but you always got to be predicting ahead.
And Dale Garlett's obviously been one of the ones hard to pick in this draft with his background. Would you have shown any interest in him, or have you sort of wiped him off your board?
No, we did some, as we did with all players. We've looked through them and seen what their talent is and seen what they've got, seen everything that we have to consider into our options. Right now, I'd say he's unlikely to be a part of our picks, but we've had a good look at what he's been able to do.
And in terms of the ground, looks all right?
Yeah, ground looks fantastic, doesn't it? It's pretty exciting when you stand here and you see that the big stand's getting built, and you look forward to the first game and round 2 a showdown. Well, it's going to be a great thing for Adelaide, isn't it? It's not just for the Port Adelaide Football Club. It's great for the Adelaide community to have this stadium the way it's going to be, and it's exciting. And our football club just can't wait to get back home.
Ken, what do you say unlikely with Garlett?
Because we've got another of other options that we're looking at, and we don't think that he'll be around our pick. You've got to remember our picks are 21 and 45. So there's a big gap between 21 and 45. We think that players like that will probably go somewhere in between there.
Okay. The AFL's put out a release today about the concussion testing. They're going to survey former players about concussions and what to do with that in the future. What from a former player's point of view and a current coach, what are your views on that? Is it a good move?
Clearly, I mean, it's player health. It's welfare of the player. We've got to look after them, and concussions are real unknown probably still, and that's why there's been so much work done over in the States as well now, and over here in Australian rules. So we're all on top of that, and we understand that there's longer term effects that players may have. We've just got to make sure player welfare is the number one thing we look after.
Did you have any effects from your playing career at all, or know of other players who have?
Sorry, I forgot that question.
Sorry. Finish it. No. Have you had any effects yourself or other players as well? Pretty well said, by the way.
No, I haven't. No, I'm pretty good. I was a bit nice. I didn't get too many whacks in the head.
How about other players that you played with?
No, I don't think so. I think, look, I've been lucky. I was coaching a couple of players like Selwood and Bartel, who continually got themselves whacked around. It's the way they play, and I don't know, they seem okay, those two boys. They're playing pretty good footy. So, but the ones that I've had anything to do with, I haven't had anything, in my playing career or since I've been coaching that I've had anyone that's had any real concerns, but it doesn't mean that won't happen.